Public art and cultural events form connections in a community, and the power of art as an expression of the human spirit is unbound. Designated cultural districts help to identify and sustain cultural and creative opportunities, increase the visibility of local artists, and promote socio-economic growth and development. The Plymouth Bay Cultural District in our walkable, historic downtown is a center of cultural activities. We went on the local scene to learn more.
Some people who even work within a cultural district say, how do we tell people what a cultural district is to really distinguish that? The main factor is it's a place-based, identity or entity. It encompasses business and job development and retention and historic preservation and community preservation and creative community and economic development. It attracts tourists. These are all the intentions behind the state legislative statute from 2011 when Cultural District Statute was established. But really, it's a place where art happens, but it's a place where business happens. It's a place where life happens, where dialogue happens, social infrastructure is fostered, and the cultural life of a community is really distinguished and identifiable. And so no district is alike, and that's kind of the exciting thing about the Cultural District program. It's not a blanketed solution for anyone. It's really a unique attribute to each community.
They've had so many different things go on, and it's hard to remember all of them, what they did. But I think the biggest thing that they've been able to do, and we as a state legislature have been able to do, is provide funding for Mass Cultural Council to help these cultural districts. There's 5 volunteers that do this in Plymouth, and they've done amazing work. And they do events that actually bring people in, or they're part of events that bring people in. And they've been able to get several $1,000s now to help with bringing the music on the porches. I mean, that's one of the big events that has become very popular. I was a grand marshal for another event that they had at Town Hall. They do some great job in promoting Plymouth, and it just adds to the experience of people coming to Plymouth.
So the cultural district, what we're trying to achieve is pretty fluid. And so I think if we look at when we were designated back in 2014, it was really just a title, and it was part of the 400 initiative. And then in 2016, we took it to a website so that we could capture all the arts and cultural issues and events and activities that were happening in the community, put it in one place and have a place for our assets to kind of be recognized. And now we've kind of morphed into a programming center. So, not only are we promoting the arts and culture and our artisans and makers and performers, but we're bringing the community to the downtown to enjoy it. And we've become programmers and, creators of activities and events, and it's pretty exciting.
So our goals are really to bring the community together in the arts and cultural field, bringing the artists and the makers together, the performers, and give them exposure, and to bring people to the community to enjoy what they're finding and seeing and seeking out in the cultural community. It's really important for us to really help to support all of our assets that are in the cultural district, and that not only is the cultural performers and artists and makers, but also the businesses that are tied to them, the restaurants, the local businesses and boutiques, and the Center for the Arts, the museums, and the history. And Plymouth has so much amazing history that really I feel was a really important part of creating this whole cultural district. And I think Plymouth has a very special one because of the defined space on the waterfront, with the history that kind of brought it all together, and we've been able to add on to that and grow that into more, kind of enhance it with more cultural activities and things going on. So I think it's an amazing hub here that we have.
The biggest part of the participation I like to do, though, is get them the money and work with Mass Cultural, work with them in the grants and the applications that they get in, and try to go and enjoy the different events that they actually have around town.
We have some signature events, and our signature events are Yarn Pop, which is a little bit new, just 2 years old, but so awesome and really pretty amazing. A great way to bring makers in, creatives, to kind of add splash to the community with fiber and manipulate it in ways that you wouldn't even imagine, so it becomes artwork in itself. And Porch Fest, that's our other signature event, which again started out in 2017 on North Street as, Plymouth Arts and Music and just a few people on the street, to now, probably between 19 and 21 performances throughout the day, which was, pretty awesome. A great opportunity to introduce the community to our talented performers.
So I've worked with the Plymouth Bay Cultural District on a few events over the last couple of years, the Raining Poetry Project. So this is a project that I had great support from the Plymouth Bay Cultural District as well as the Mass Cultural Council. And basically I created stencils of poems that then go on the sidewalks. We did it throughout downtown, and they get sprayed with this spray that's a water repellent spray. So when the sidewalks are dry, the poems are invisible, you don't see anything. And when it rains, then the poems appear. So it's a really interesting and unique way to bring poetry into public spaces, and that was done with the full support of the Plymouth Bay Cultural District.
I think cultural districts are important to a community for many reasons. Having overseen one myself for a number of years and realizing its value, you can see that other state and federal entities are realizing the value of a place-based entity as well. You see business improvement districts and Main Streets districts and TDI districts and historic districts. Everyone sort of sees the value of a distinguished identity and what you can do in that space when it comes to economic incentives, when it comes to visibility, a branding and identity for your community. That's where all of that happens. And a cultural district encompasses all of that. It really is about, serving the businesses, creating that identity. It is where art happens, so that level of visibility. But it's where where your community is preserved and celebrated. It really is the identifiable space of a municipality, of a city or town, where everything happens.
I think it's an economic driver for the community and for the South Shore, bringing people here. It's really an economic boom for us. And particularly since COVID happened, and now we're trying to get people to come back, and I think we did a pretty good job of getting tourism back, at least the domestic travelers back here. But the cultural aspect of what they do, again, just adds that. People look for that. They look to see where are the cultural districts in Massachusetts. And once they see Plymouth and realize the history and the beaches and the restaurants and all that, it just adds to the whole picture that we've been able to create here in Plymouth.
I love to be outside, or I love to be in a community and to go see something that's a visual piece of artwork that I think is amazing, that someone has the talent to create, or to go hear music that people can perform and share their talents with everybody. I think if you have that and it brings the community together, it's really important to be able to know you have that opportunity and to embrace it and to bring yourself to the community.
People think of cultural districts as just a place where art happens. They've really capitalized on that creative community and economic development aspect and the businesses. Some businesses don't know how to relate to a cultural district. Plymouth Bay Cultural District is doing the work of laying that base of information so their community partners do understand it, and they understand how to utilize it, and they understand how to interact with it and collaborate with it. And that's sort of a model that we just wish would be, across the board, that everyone would see the strengths in this whole rising tides, and it takes a village or a district, because it does, to keep it ongoing, to sustain it, and to really portray it in a way that, can be celebrated. I really admire the Plymouth Bay Cultural District, and I had mentioned earlier, I'm not the only one. There were others who, over the years, have interacted with the district in one way or another, and were so inspired by what they were seeing coming out of it and what had been transpired over the last, 6, 7, 8 years you've been a district now, that they've taken it into other communities and want to sort of replicate that into other communities. And those are the stories that we don't really see, on paper when we talk about measurable impact, but that need to be included. Because look what that person has now done for 1, 2 other communities, other cities or towns in our state who are now going to be receiving those grant funding, those resources, that visibility, all because they were inspired by the Plymouth Bay Cultural District.
I think that community should care about the arts because to me the arts are basically the cultural infrastructure of a community. And so in the same way that you need to take care of the roads and the bridges, you need to take care of the cultural infrastructure. And poetry and music and visual art, all types of culture, it's invisible often, but it plays, in my mind, just as significant a role as visible, public infrastructure does. And I think the most interesting places, the places that people want to visit, the places that people want to live, are the places that have a rich cultural community, and that can't happen without support. And that support, needs to be economic support, but it also needs to be a kind of moral support so that people know, artists know, that they're in a place that really does care about the culture and they value that. And so when you look at studies of the cultural economy, there are really dollars and cents that we can put behind how much revenue is generated in a community by cultural events. And I think that's obviously important. But even more important, I think, is that invisible cultural, spiritual, social infrastructure that can't be replicated in any other way but the arts.
The Cultural District is an expression and reflection of our community, and there are many ways you can get involved. To volunteer your skills and expertise, check out what's happening in the district, or to suggest a program or event, go to plymouthbayculture.org/contact us.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like and subscribe button before you go. We'll see you next time.